So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how to tell if your music is whack. It's not being super negative about it, but it's you just self-reflecting on your work and trying to see what's good. So I'm going to give you some tips that help me in ways that I can tell if something is not good enough, or if something still needs more work, or if something needs improvement, basically, because a lot of people ask for feedback. And when you're trying to give feedback and help other people, you must know ways to identify certain problems in other people's music and even in your own music, so that you can also just check your own work by yourself and just follow these steps to see what's good, right? So let's get into it. So the first thing for me, usually what helps me check if something is good, like I always check the waves of the songs that I produce, right? So most of the time, a lot of people, when they produce their music, you just finish your song and then you export and then you just play back the MP3 or the WAV file, and then you just listen while you're busy doing something else or anything like that. But for me personally, I like to re-import my export into my software, and then I listen to it while I also look at the wave itself, because the wave itself tells me a lot about the sound that I'm going to be listening to in terms of its dynamics and what it looks like. So right here in FL Studio, I have a song, one of a song of mine, right? So you can see the wave here. For me, this looks like a healthy wave file. So you can see there's parts where the drums come in, and parts where you can see there's some spaces in between. And then you see places like these where I know that there are no drums playing at this point. It's just the instruments alone. So you can see in the middle here, you can see this middle wave right here. All of this is just the instruments, right? And then these spikes, these tall spikes right here, they are my drums because they are sharp. They have a lot of transients. So for me, this definitely looks like a healthy track that's going to sound good, because my drums, I want them to hit, and then my instruments must be nice, not too soft, but also not too loud. So that's why they're not hitting right here by the top. So this is something I usually check. But when I looked at some of my older music that didn't really sound quite right to me, especially when I had it done, I used to have a problem of overdoing it and over sausaging out my tracks. So what do I mean by over sausaging? I'll show you. So if I import one of my beats here, you can really see the clear difference between this top one here as opposed to the second one, this beat that I just added here. Like if I zoom in like this, you can totally see the difference right there. Like, look at that. That is a difference. Even if I move to a different place like here, you can see this one is like pretty sausaged out. So here and there, it might look like this and still sound great, but 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you, if your wave looks like this and if it's too sausaged out like this, your dynamics are not even present and everything is just over excessively loud. And if I remember to when I made this beat, I used to have a weak sound system. I didn't have really good monitors, so I always wanted my beats to be loud because it was all about loudness at that time. Your beats must be loud, your beat must really cut through. So I was focusing too much on that, and then in turn, it ended up ruining my beats and my music because I was over compressing, I was over limiting, I was just squashing everything, which is a sign of a bad track. So when people listen to it, the song might be good, but the output is wrong. There's no dynamics, there's no room to breathe. Even if you look at right here by the intro, you can see here there aren't many drums, but you can see how the wave is too big as opposed to this one on top right here. It's just too much. So that's the first thing you want to take a look at. Just analyze the wave itself and re-import it and just look at it. It mustn't be too sausaged out like this. This is totally wrong. That's just number one. The next thing you want to look out for that can make your music sound whack is being out of key. You have no idea how so common that is. Like it's like almost every day I hear someone's work and I start to hear elements that are out of key, which is like for me a cardinal sin if you're going to be a musician. The first thing you want to learn to not do is be out of key. You want to train yourself to always make music that is in key, and every element must be in key with every element. So you want to train yourself basically to catch dissonance. Any time there are notes that don't work harmonically together, you must be able to catch it by ear if you just play it. So for instance, I have a chord progression right here, right? So let's say for instance you have this first chord here. So I can hear that chord is complete, that chord is good. But let's say one of the notes was off. Let's say if I move this one, I can really hear that this top note it doesn't sound right. Like the chord doesn't sound right, it sounds off. You can tell it sounds right. So a lot of people draw in chords like this, and sometimes they don't catch when a note is off, especially when they start to stack a lot of notes together. So you need to figure out that, okay, this note doesn't sound right, so I need to maybe lower it or raise it. That sounds right. You get me? So if a certain note is just off, you can hear that doesn't sound great, and then you fix it, right? So that's how you basically work with your key to stay in key. Same thing goes when it comes to melodies and bass lines and things like that. You have to use your ear and train your ear to hear dissonance and hear when things are not working well together and they don't sound correct musically. You need to train it. And a lot of people don't talk about, how to train yourself to hear key, but you need to hear when things work together. And if you make that mistake, it just throws your whole composition to just sound trash and sound whack. So it's something you want to work on. And the next thing that will make your music sound whack is raw sounds, right? We all have plugins that come with really cool sounds, and a lot of them have, really nice sounding sounds that can get you inspired so that you choose them and you want to use them in your projects. But you must always be aware that the work doesn't end from you just picking a sound and then loading it into your project and then you just keep pushing. You have to still work on the sound and design it a little bit, like I always say, to get it to the point where, it sounds really good. So for me, I always try and make sure that I avoid raw sounds. So I have a beat here that I have a certain sound that sounds pretty good. It plays around this section here. Let me just play it back for you. You hear that sound? This sound. For me, this is the standout sound in this beat. I really love how the sound came about. It's a really cool sound. I really like it. And it's actually a one-shot sound. So if I open up the project right here and show you the pattern, that's right here. You can see right there, it is a one-shot. So that's the note right here. So if I go to my mixer, you'll see that I have two things. I have a transient processor, and then I have a reverb right here, which is the Luxverb. So these are both stock plugins. So I did do some work on the sound itself. But if I turn these off, if I just come here and I just bypass all these, do you hear how raw that sound sounds like? And if I play it in the track as raw as it sounds, it's not going to feel the same as it did in the beginning. Nah. That doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound like really cool like the way it sounded before. So that's exactly my point. But if I bring the effects back like this, hey, come on. That sounds way better, right? That sounds really good. So I can get into how to design these sounds, but I'm just saying don't keep raw sounds. The more raw sounds you have, the more interesting and just the less potential your track is going to have. So this transient processor was helping, just add some attack to the sound. Right here, it was adding some really nice attack to the sound just to make it more plucky, just to make it more interesting. So that's why I added a transient processor, because the sound was way too soft. You hear that? That's way too soft. But if I do this, I'm cutting off a little bit of the tail and also adding a bit of attack, but then it also just sounds raw as well. But then the reverb smooths everything out and gives it some space. So then I added some reverb. So just two plugins like that. Just like that. And I also used some effect right here with the release time. You see what I did here? That's also another effect, which is like a whole other tutorial in itself of how I did that. So obviously you want to process your sound so that they don't sound raw. That's how you end up with a sound that sounds really great. And raw sounds just sound whack off rip. So you don't want to focus on those. You don't want to create your sounds like that. So the last thing that will also make your music sound whack is unbalanced mixing. So mixing, I know, is tough for a lot of people, but there are so many tutorials you can watch about mixing that can help you be able to balance and level out your music in a nice way where everything can sound really cool. I have a lot of videos that you can check out in a playlist for mixing that can really help you. I try and keep things very simple when I teach people how to mix and master and things like that, because we're just trying to make our music sound great and releasable. if that's a word, and be release ready so that you can, release it to people, to the public. Obviously, one more professional mixing and mastering, you now have to hire some people to do that for you. But if you want to do it yourself, you're going to have to learn the fundamentals and, learn the basics so that you can improve and get the right tools for the job. So while we're on this same beat here, I just want to talk about mixing in itself, right? So if I go to my mixer, if you were paying attention on the previous points that I made, you can see my mixer doesn't have much. It has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sounds. So if I play the beat, you can see there's not too many sounds here. It's just a couple of sounds, and it already sounds like it was mixed. Why? Because I did my balancing, a little bit of the mixing right here on the channel rack. If you look to the left over here, you can see all these volumes are not on their default values right here, because I was busy making sure that I'm basically mixing. So I'm just basically leveling everything before it gets to the main mixer here. So when it gets to the mixer here, that's when I'm doing like my final level of mixing. But the mixing already started on the channel rack, because the channel rack has a volume here. So no matter what software you're using, there's always a way to control the sounds going into the mixer, how loud you want them or how soft you want them. And even on the plugin level itself, like if I come here to Morphine, there's also a level right here. So this level can help you dictate how much of the level of the signal of the sound you want. So it helps you balance everything. So there are multiple levels. So you can make sure you work on your levels on the plugin level, right here on the level that it has. But some plugins might not have this, so that's why you have a volume knob on the channel right here before you even get to the mixer right here, where you do the final balancing of everything to put it where you need to be. Because what you do with the volume over here on the channel rack and even on the plugin affects how the sound that's going into the mixer is going to be affected, and how the plugins are going to react to that input that you're giving. Let's say I'm sending something to the Fruity filter here. How loud the input is going into this effect is going to determine with how loud it was and where I set it, if that makes sense. I hope I explained that really perfectly, but if you still have questions, you can always drop them down below in the comments. So, I'm just saying that if you change the volume right here on the mixer, it doesn't affect much of what's happening to the plugin, because it is working on the sound after the plugin, not before it. The sound, the volume that is before the plugin is what's on the channel rack and what's on the plugin itself. So that's pre the effect, not post. So you just want to keep that in mind, but that's a conversation for another day. But it helps you balance everything out before you even get to the mixer, so that when you get to the mixer, you can now balance everything in the best way that you can, so that you can make the track overall sound nice and clean, and not everything just sounding random. Because if I reset everything on this track, like this is how the track is sounding right now. But if I reset a lot of these parameters, because you can just reset them super easy like this, and then I play it back, it sounds horrible. It sounds totally horrible, because that mixing is off. I hope I'll be able to bring it back where it was. I'll just reload I just won't save, and I'll just reload the project. So I hope I answered the question how to tell if your music is whack, because I just tried to give you off the top of my head some ideas on how you can tell, if something you've made, if some of your music is trash, if it's not sounding good. So how you can critique yourself, because it's very important, because coming from someone else, it might be painful when someone tells you that, hey, this doesn't sound good. Hey, bro, this is whack. It's painful to be told that, you understand. Trust me, I know. So the thing is, you want to do your own work and critique your own self, so that at least you can have an idea where to go and what to do and things like that. So always follow these tips. If you have any other way you can tell whether a song is whack or not, let me know down below in the comments. You can put it in a comment down below. If you want to support the channel, you can check out the links that are down below, so that you can buy any products that I sell, and also become a member of the channel if you want me to listen to your music and give you feedback, and so that you can connect with me on a monthly basis. That would be super cool. Or you can also just subscribe, and also guys, don't forget to also leave likes, and also just say something nice in the comments. You can say hello, what's good. I would really appreciate it, so that it helps these videos in the YouTube algorithm. But I have some more videos that you can watch if you're still here on YouTube, that you can check out. They're going to be on the screen right here. But that's all from me today. That's been the video. I'm X, and I'm out. See you soon. Peace.